Whoops. Oh yeah, but this is a new stream, and with every new stream, I do want to make sure that I mention that you should absolutely click on these videos on Khan Academy. They are amazing. They are very, very good at explaining the things that I'm explaining, also in a very rational and very easy to understand way. And though admittedly, maybe these videos aren't quite as entertaining as mine, I strongly recommend getting your education from multiple voices. You should not get all of your learning from one place, from one voice. That doesn't work. You have to get multiple perspectives, multiple ideas, multiple ways of thinking about things. Okay. So we're going to go back to strategies for adding. And we're going to add using groups of 10 and 100. Let's see how this goes. 29 plus 24 is the same as, hold on, let me zoom in. It's the same as 30 plus 23. We've already talked about this. I can take one away from one of the addends, and I'm going to go ahead and give you that bit of vocabulary right now since we are here. And addend is a thing being added. Which makes a sum the answer to an addition question. The reason that I mention this is because I will use these terms sum and addend a lot as we go forward. So when I say 29 plus 24 equals 53, the 29 and the 24, or the 30 and the 23, as we see here, those are addends. And the answer is the sum. And we're always taught that the sum is the answer, but for some reason this word addend seems to be missed a lot of the time in math. And I'm not sure why. It's a very important piece of vocabulary. You need to be able to talk about the things that you're doing, right? If I have two things that I'm adding together, I need to have a name that I can give them so that you know that I'm referring to those things that I'm adding together. That word is addend. Anyway, moving right along. 247 plus 794. Now notice again, 794 is almost 800, right? It's actually 800 minus 6. Yeah? So if we take 794 and we add 6 to get 800, well, that's good. It makes it easier to see, right? 794 is less easy to add than 800 with those zeros. But if we're going to just add 6, we can't just add 6. We're not allowed. But if we also subtract 6 from the other addend, now we haven't actually changed anything, right? If I minus 6 and I plus 6, it doesn't actually change anything. So what I'm really doing is I'm taking 800 plus 241. 247 minus 6. So anytime you're adding and subtracting, you can always add to the nearest 10 and then subtract however many you need in order to get where you want to go. You don't have to do this all in one step, is my point. 241. No, not 14, 41. 66 plus 72. Well, to get to 70, we'd have to take 2 away. Those 2 have to go somewhere, so they're going to go into this 66, making it 68 plus 70. And then we could take away the 18 from 118, add it to the 560 to give us 100 plus 578. And again, the whole point of this is to make it so that you have to do as little actual math as possible. You're just rearranging numbers so that you don't have to do any carrying. right? We totally would have had to do, well, I guess we didn't have to do any carrying this time, but a lot of these times we would have had to do some carrying, we would have had to do some crossing out and some other stuff. But if you just go to the next or maybe the last 10 or 100, you can actually do this addition or subtraction very quickly without having to do a bunch of carrying. That's 10 and 100. Now, backing up, we're going to break apart three-digit addition problems. So I have a feeling that what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be taking our three-digit numbers and breaking them apart into tens and hundreds and ones, right? Let's take a look. So we have 525 plus 379. And in order to get that done, we're going to break it into its hundreds, and then its tens, and then its ones. So we have 500 and 300. So B looks like the best one so far, but B and C could both be in the running. They both have 500 plus 300. Plus 20 plus 70. So actually B is wrong. It must be C. 500, 300, 20, 70, and then 5, and then 9. All we are doing is taking advantage of the fact that addition can be done in any order. And we know from previous examples that 525 is the same thing as 500 plus 20 plus 5. And we know from previous experience that 379 is 300 plus 70 plus 9. Yeah? This isn't new. This is all stuff we've already done before. But all we have to do now is group it up. 500 and 300, 20 and 70, 5 and 9. And that tells me that C is the correct answer. Moving on. 908 plus 24. Well, this one's wrong because it's not 9 tens, it's 9 hundreds. So A is out. And being able to eliminate an answer in a multiple choice, exam is very important, especially if you can't figure out what the real answer is. If you're able to just get rid of one of the answers, well, now we've improved our chances of guessing correctly from 1/3 to 1/2. So we know A is not correct. So there are 9 hundreds, there are only 2 tens, and then there are 8 ones, and there are 4 ones. So it's got to be B, because C, as you can see, has this extra 2 hundreds instead of 2 tens. Very, very close. It's almost the right answer, but instead of 2 hundreds, it should actually be 2 tens. Moving on. Pat isn't sure how to add 374 plus 152. Choose an addition problem that is the same. And again, if you did not learn the way I learned to write this down in columns and carry the 1 and all that other stuff, you might not know, you might not understand. I didn't understand. I only understood much later when I understood why we carry the 1. So for now, let's take a look. So it's 374 plus 152. So we want 300, 100, 7 tens, 5 tens, 4 ones, and 2 ones. That looks like B to me. 374 and 152. Moving on. What do we get when we break apart 632 plus 75 using place value? Well, we have 6 hundreds. We have 3 tens and 7 tens, which is why A is wrong, right? It says 3 hundreds. And then we have 2 ones and 5 ones, which is why B is wrong, because it says 7 ones and 5 ones. The answer is C. And that's that. All right. We're doing really well. Let's move on to select strategies. For adding within 1,000. Let's go. Select two strategies. We need to choose two answers. And again, this is important. You need to understand that there are multiple ways of doing things. If you look at somebody else's work and decide that they're wrong because they did it a different way from you, you're not learning math. I don't know what you're learning, but you're not learning math. All right? If you are telling me that there is only one way to solve a problem, then whatever you're talking about isn't math. So here we have 158 plus 565. So we could totally do 150 and 550, which is way easier. And then notice that this 8 matches up with this 158, and this 15 matches up with this with this 565. So A is indeed a correct way of breaking it down. And I can do 15 plus 8, and I can do 150 plus 550 because it's a lot easier than adding the original problem. I could also add 2 to 158 to get 160, and then take that 2 away from 565 to get 563. These are both correct ways of getting the correct answer. And I don't even care what the answer is. I really don't. Right now, I could not give less of a shit what the answer is. I only care about how you take these numbers apart and put them back together, and that you recognize that there are multiple ways to do that. Two strategies to add 115 and 497. So the first thing that I see, if I was going to do this, is I would absolutely do, strategy B. I would absolutely add 500, which is 3 more than 497, and then I would subtract 3. Adding 500 and then subtracting 3 is the same thing as adding 497 in the first place. You can take that one step, break it up into 2 much more easy steps. What else could we do? 110 and 492 would not work because it looks like I subtracted 5 and I subtracted 5. So that's actually going to be 10 short of the true answer. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to add to one of them and then subtract from the other one. If I wanted 110, I would subtract 5 off of this to get 110, and then I would add 5 to the other one to get 502, which would also be much easier to add than what we've currently got. So I could take away 3 from the 115 to make 112, and give that 3 to the 497 to make 112 plus 500. That is absolutely correct. The answer is B and C. Okay, now we have 708 plus 211. Well, if we take away the 8 from the 700 to make a nice even 700 and give it to the 211, that gives us 700 plus 219. This is wrong, because if I added 700 and 211 and then subtracted 8, I would be short, right? I should add 700 plus 211, and in fact, I'm going to write this down because this is a really, really good one. I could take 700, and I could add 211, which is, as you can see, it's this amount. And that gives me 911. And then I can take this extra 8, which I haven't dealt with yet. But it's still there, so I'm going to add it. The answer is 919. You are allowed to break up these addition and subtraction problems however you want. Okay, we have 49 plus 262. Well, we could do 40, that's this 40, plus 260, that's this 260, plus 11. Well, hold on. This is right, but where the hell did this 11 come from? A turns out to be a correct answer. But where did that 11 come from? I see that this 40 comes from this 40. And I see that this 260 comes from this 260. But where did that 11 come from? Well, if I take the ones, this 9 and this 2, and I add them together, 9, 10, 11. It's that easy. A is absolutely a correct way of doing this. It's not the way I would do it. I would instead have said plus 9 plus 2. That's the way I would have done it. But the fact that somebody else puts that 9 and that 2 together and make 11 in their head automatically is totally valid. So we're going to go ahead and erase this work. And what else? What else? Well, I could totally take 2 away from this 262 to make 260 and add that to the 49 to make 51. And that is select strategies for adding within 1,000. And I hope that all makes sense because there's a lot of really good stuff here that ends up being useful later on down the line. All right, we've got a quiz, and then we've got some subtracting, so let's do it. What do we get when we break apart 283 plus 605 using place value? As usual for a quiz, I'm just going to go ahead and pause for a moment and let you determine what you think the answer is on your own. We are taking 283 plus 605, breaking it apart using place value. Take a moment, pause the video. What do you think? I got C. 200, 600, 8 tens, 0 tens, 3 ones, and 5 ones. Moving on. Select 2 strategies that can be used to add 54 plus 112. Take a moment. What do you think? I see B and C. A is obviously wrong because we're not doing 500 anything. Which number line shows 243 plus 412? 243 plus 12. Take a moment. I'm sorry, plus 412. Derp. Well, that answer is B, right? We're adding 400 and then 10 and then 2. That's 412. Fill in the blank. 78 plus 34 is the same as 80 plus, well, if we're going to add 2 to the 78 to get 80, we have to get that 2 from somewhere. We can't just make it up, right? That 2 that we're going to make 80 out of, we can't just conjure it up out of nowhere. It's coming from the 34. We are taking 2 of those ones away from that 34 and giving it to the 78. So it becomes 80 plus 32. All right, we've got 236 plus 342. That's this one. And then finally, 530 plus 300. Again, the only math that we're doing here is 5 plus 3 is 8. Everything else just gets copy-pasted. So it's 830. And that's that.